Hello, this is Patricia Brooks, and this is Courage Concepts number 31A. We think we know the end of the story, but we don't. On Friday, I had a bad day. And that night, I had a dark night of the soul. I am still in the United States. I was not able to get back to France due to the pandemic that we're experiencing. And I was in a hotel room before heading to a friend's house with whom I was planning to stay for a while. But that afternoon, I got a call from her saying that she was really sorry and that I would no longer be able to stay with her because things had changed. Things beyond her control had changed. And I completely understood. I didn't have any hard feelings, but I felt scared. I felt like I might be staying in a hotel room for the next, for the unforeseeable future. And that was going to cost me a lot of money and might create some financial problems for me. And so I learned that my resident card that I have for France allows me to go back to France, even though I'm not a French citizen and even though the borders are closed. And so I called the airline to see if there were any flights left going back. And there were. But the problem was I could get to France, I could get to Paris, but I couldn't get to the south of France because France is on lockdown. And so there are no trains, no buses, no public transportation. So I would be stranded. So that option, which seemed so promising, dried up as well. About an hour and a half later, another friend said, you know what, I've got this vacation house and we don't use it. Why don't you go stay there? And I said, oh, great, I can do that. That sounds like a wonderful idea. 3 hours later, she called me back and said, I'm so sorry, Patricia. I neglected to check with my husband. And in fact, he uses that for his business. And because of what's going on with the pandemic, some of his workers might need to stay there. And so I said, okay, I took the news and I was not happy because I was running out of choices. And so that night I spiraled down into some really bad thoughts. I started to question myself. Why had I come to the United States in the first place? I had considered not. But one of the reasons was I had this presentation I was going to give and I slept on it and my heart told me to go. People needed to hear my message. And so I came and I gave that presentation and I felt really good about that. And then this happened. And then I questioned myself about staying, to take care of some business I could only take care of here, which caused me to not be able to get back in time. And I started doubting myself and saying, Patricia, what have you done? You're going to have to stay in this hotel forever. And you're going to run out of money. You're going to be broke. All of these negative thoughts. And I was in a bad way. I mean, I did not sleep at all. I was, bawling at times. I think the people in the room next door must have thought I was a maniac. And I was not in a good place because I thought I knew how the story ended. Well, the following day, later in the day, I got a call from a friend who has a mother-in-law suite, and she decided she was going to turn it into an Airbnb. And she wanted to know if I would like to rent that at a more reasonable rate than I would be able to rent or stay at the hotel. And all of a sudden, there was a little bit of light. Oh, well, maybe this won't break me financially completely, and I'll have a nice place to stay. Later that day, I got a call from somebody who had seen my presentation, and she's got a radio show, and she wants me to be a guest on that show. And once again, I was like, oh, okay, there was a reason for me to come. Maybe there's a reason for me to still be here. We think we know how the story ends, but we don't. There was this Chinese farmer who had a horse. And one day, the horse decided it was going to run away. And the neighbors came by to console the farmer saying, oh, it's so bad that your horse ran away. And the farmer turned to the neighbors and said, maybe. The next day, the farmer went away and he came back and he had 7 wild horses with him. And the neighbors came around again saying, "Oh, you're so fortunate. You've got these 7 horses now." The farmer turned to them and said, "Maybe." The next day, the son decided he was going to try to tame one of them. He got on the back of this horse, and that horse threw him. He broke his leg. The farmer's son broke his leg. And the neighbors once again came around saying, "Oh, it's a shame that your son broke his leg." And the farmer turned to them and said, "Maybe." Finally, the next day, the draft officers came around looking to sign up the son for the army. But they were unable to do that because the son had a broken leg. The neighbors came around once again saying, "Oh, you were so lucky. Your son broke his leg and he doesn't have to go into the army." And the farmer said to them, "Maybe." This concept goes to the catalyst for cultivating courage, that is shifting your perspective, because when we stop thinking that we know how something is going to end, then we open ourselves up for the possibilities and we don't spiral down into despair. And we can have more energy around the possibilities. I know all of us are dealing with these challenging times in different ways. And I hope that hearing my story has allowed you to see how easy it is to spiral down when we think that we know how the story is going to end. None of us know what good will come from what we are experiencing right now. So I urge you to stay safe, to not make judgments about how the story ends, and be open to the possibility and the opportunities that will come from this. That is courage concept number 31A. We think we know how the story is going to end, but we don't. I will see you again real soon for another courage concept. Bye for now.